All right. I got my three. Okay. Imagine living in a country that people in places of power were put there without our say. Imagine not having a voice about who governs us. Imagine not having the ability to choose leaders that would best represent our morals, our policies, or beliefs. We have that power, but we must use that power. In the 2016 election should be a valuable lesson for us all. We currently have elected officials in office that are under investigation for Russian collusion, sexual harassment, and sexual assault. This does not represent who we are as a country. We are quickly becoming the laughingstock of the world. It's time for us to take action in November and hit the voting booths to put people in place that will best represent us as a whole. The right to vote is not a freedom that we should overlook and take for granted. People died for this right. We should exercise that right. The right to vote was not for everyone in the beginning. African Americans, freed slaves after the Civil War, did not have the right to vote until 1870, in which the 15th Amendment gave them that right to vote. However, in the South, even after they had the right to vote, Southern governments enacted Jim Crow laws to deter them from voting. For instance, enacting literacy tests, poll taxes, and just straight out intimidation tactics. History.com stated that the Civil Rights Act of 1957 made voting discrimination a federal offense. But it wasn't until 1966 that they actually started locking people up for those federal offenses, like voting discrimination. Women were also treated as second-class citizens. They did not have the right to vote either, white women or black women. Susan B. Anthony stated that women might as well be dogs baying at the moon as petitioners without the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony spearheaded the women's suffrage movement in the 1800s. The article, the 19th Amendment, stated that women could not own property and they had no legal right to any money that they may have earned or will earn. The women's suffrage movement started in the early 1820s, but did not gain national notoriety until 1948, 100 plus years later. Women's suffrage stated that the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. Now that we've covered the hardships of African American men and women's suffrage, we will now discuss why our current government is in chaos. The world views our leaders as a representation of us. This is why voting is so important. Scandal has plagued our democracy for the past year and a half. Allegations of Russian collusion, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and all other scandals that have been covered by the news around the clock. Instead of covering policies, this is all we hear all day long, all night long. CNN, Fox News, you name it. You will see it every time you turn on the television. We need consistency in the White House. The turnover in our current White House is at an all-time high. It has already tripled the amount of turnover that was in President Obama's administration within his first year, and doubled President Reagan's administration within his first year. Stated by Tamara Keith in the article, Turnover in Trump's White House. 34% of high-level White House aides have either resigned, been fired, or switch to another position within the first year of President Trump's presidency. Also stated in Tamar Keith's article. Now that we know why our government is in chaos, let's discuss on ways that we can prevent this from happening again. First of all, we must try not to be so tribal when it comes to our political affiliations. No matter the party, we all have something, and we all have one thing in common, and that's to find the best person for the job that would represent us well, without embarrassing us. And you must not depend on Fox News or CNN in order to get your information on the candidates that are trying to get elected. You must do your own research so you can make an educated decision yourself. Next, we must convince friends and family to get out and vote. You can put that peer pressure on them in order to get them out, because most people, without anyone pushing them to get to the voting booth, they won't go. Daniel Levine from Heavy.com stated that 40% did not vote in 2016. That's 90 million people didn't go to the voting booths. This is not what men and women fought and bled for to give us this right. They did not intend for 40% not to take advantage of that right. You must get people to go to the local courthouse or the local city hall to find out where voting will take place in November. That way you can pass the information on so that everybody will know when and where to be. In conclusion, we discussed voting discrimination, why our government is in chaos, and choosing the right candidate. No matter what our affiliation is, we all have a common goal. That's to put the right person in office so that they can represent us well. We're quickly becoming the laughingstock of the world. A lot of politicians have taken our vote for granted for years. It's time to take action and make a statement that if they don't fit the bill, they don't belong. 40% of our population did not vote in 2016. The power is in our hands. We must take advantage of it and use that power. The right to vote is not a freedom that we should take for granted or overlook. People died to give us that right. We must honor them by exercising that right. Thank you. This concludes my brief.